Hello. Today we're going to look at theory and theorizing. Many people get anxious when they begin to think about theoretical constructs and frameworks and just theorizing in general. It's really quite simple when you realize that theory is just an explanation of behavior. It does not try to consider what ought to be or what should be. It just explains the behavior at hand. So if you are driving down the road and you see someone pass you at a high rate of speed, you might think, wow, they're really late. That's a theory. A theory merely explains what is going on. It also relates two variables in a time-ordered fashion. There's a sequence. One variable causes the other one. So perhaps being late caused a person to drive fast. Knowing that theory is an explanation, the statement itself must have at least 5 different elements. The first element that it has is that it must be clearly stated and logical relating of the relationships. That means it basically has to make sense. So in your best understanding, when you read that statement, does it make sense to you? Are the concepts consistent? Are they talking about the same thing? Secondly, you would like to have a wide range when you make your statement. So you want to take into account many ages, all races, all income levels, marital status. Now this is not to say, though, that if your research problem is rather narrow, let's say you're investigating teen pregnancy, well, obviously then you're not going to look at all ages, but you'll mostly look at teenagers. No one over 20 and no one under 10. It depends on how you define it. Thirdly, you want your statements to be short and sweet. Statements that are quite long and involved do not constitute a good theory. The best theories are those that are short, sweet, and to the point. Now saying this, the shortness of them and the range go hand in glove. So we want to cover as many variables as we can with just a few statements. Now, fourth element is testability. And this is a very important element because if we cannot test it, then we cannot know whether or not our theory is accurate. And there are 3 other criteria that speak to testability. The first one that is most important is a tautology. A tautology refers to the sequence of your variables. We want variable A to cause variable B. If A causes B, then we have a theory and we can test it. But if it also makes sense to say that B causes A, then we can't figure out how to test it. It is untestable. We also want to make sure that we can measure the variables. And we can measure many variables by simply talking with people, asking them. Let's say we're interested in role models. We might ask people, well, who was your role model? Why was that important? Now, we cannot see role model, but we can test role model by talking to people. So if we can conceive of a way to measure it, then we can test our theory. The third one is open-endedness. We must be able to have an ending point to our theory, to collecting our data. If we could have any data support our theory, then we cannot tell what does not support our theory. The main thing to remember for this element of testability is that we have to figure out a way to test the theory. The 5th element is validity. We might have a wide range, a few statements, it sounds logical, and we can test it, but then when we get to the research part of the supporting the theory, and we find out no data supports it, then we don't have a theory. So that's the final important element of seeing whether or not you have an accurate theory. The final point I want to make about theory is that theories never prove anything. The data never proves anything. The data supports the theory. This might seem like a small point, but in academic reasoning and in the scholarly pursuit, we must be accurate at this level of education with our language. So theories never prove. They only support. Of course, if you have any questions about this, about theory construction and theoretical frameworks, feel free to give me a call or email me. I'm looking forward to working with you. Bye-bye.